mellan befolkningarna bör vara många, då vi gemensamt arbetar mot en rättvis, sund och hållbar framtid för alla.
The Nordic region is home to more than 27 million people and combined forms the 11th largest economy in the world. Ireland and the Nordics do over 15 billion euro in trade together annually, and more than 450 Enterprise Ireland supported companies do business with this region. Known as a region that is progressive, stable and open to innovation, in recent years, the Nordic countries have also been recognised for their leadership in sustainability.
Copenhagen GEA is a little piece of Ireland here in Denmark. It's our little home away from home.
Absolutely. The GEA, what it means to me is it is a community. It involves everybody. It embodies many values such as well-being, inclusiveness, diversity, respect, and it's something I'm very happy and honoured to be part of.
Since 2006, the Irish Festival of Oulu celebrates the richness of Irish culture through music, storytelling, film, theatre, poetry, dance, and much more.
We want to showcase a contemporary Ireland and celebrate our traditions. Ireland is a perfect partner for the Nordics.
Greetings from Reykjavik, Iceland, your neighbour to the north. We are continually working to strengthen our Team Ireland approach, bringing together embassies, state agency representatives, honorary consuls and local staff. We share heritage and a common worldview, and I'm sure the implementation of the Nordic strategy will serve to strengthen those already natural ties.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to invite Minister for Foreign Affairs Simon Coveney, TD, to launch officially the Global Ireland Nordic Strategy. Minister Coveney.
Thanks very much, Olive, and to my ministerial counterpart, Aina in particular, but also to all of the others who've chosen to be on the call today. Thank you for being here and spending time with us. I'm delighted to launch the government's Nordic strategy this morning. And it's a clear signal of our commitment to deepening our strategic engagement with important European partners and a practical outcome from what we refer to as the Global Ireland Initiative. I'd like to acknowledge and thank in particular my foreign minister colleagues for their participation today. Norway, Sweden, Finland, Denmark and Iceland are Ireland's neighbours. You're our friends and partners on the global stage. Rooted in deep historical and cultural connections, today we each share an unshakable commitment to global activism on values, conflict prevention, climate, justice, and of course, multilateralism. We're also bound together as small European countries with a firm commitment to a highly open economic model dependent on trade innovation and competitiveness. And we're pretty good at it. There is a natural kinship between our peoples. We understand our interdependence with the natural world, with the sea, and how our health and well-being as individuals and societies depends on an absolute commitment to real sustainability. I think the cover that we've used to visually frame this strategy, which is not only a beautiful picture of the Northern Lights as seen from Donegal in the northwest of Ireland, it also serves to illustrate, I think, our closeness and our connection. This Nordic strategy is a strong framework to deepen our bilateral and multilateral engagement with Denmark, Finland, Iceland, Norway, and Sweden, and to increase our influence internationally over the next 5 years or so. It's a whole of government strategy built on consultation with other government departments and our state agencies. This network of Irish embassies, state agencies, government departments and contacts working collaboratively with Nordic ambassadors, resident and accredited to Ireland, will deliver on this strategy in a practical way. And I would like to thank you in advance for this vital work that will take place over the coming years. Trade, as has been mentioned in the video, with the Nordic region is already valued at over 15 billion euros annually, and we aim to grow that strongly. We'll support business collaborations and exchanges, especially in the areas of green technology. We'll deepen research and scientific collaboration. We will reinvigorate tourism promotion to encourage Nordic visitors to visit Ireland once travel conditions permit us all to get back to some level of normality. We will encourage educational exchanges and links between Irish and Nordic schools and museums. We'll use the goodwill of the Irish diaspora in the region to promote Irish culture, sport, and heritage. I think you've seen some of that in the video that we've just shown. We'll encourage a strong and well-resourced diplomatic and agency Team Ireland in the Nordic region. Above all, we will continue to work closely with our Nordic friends to promote international peace, disarmament, and human rights at the United Nations, and in the fight against hunger, poverty, and exclusion more generally, globally. Ireland has invested significantly over the past number of years in amplifying our international role. Our Global Ireland Strategy, as we call it, which was launched in June 2018 and which runs to 2025, commits us to doubling Ireland's impact in the world, which is no small target. Our active membership of the United Nations, and most recently our tenure on the Security Council, is an important expression of our values. We work closely with all countries in the Nordic region, as well as with our Baltic friends, to promote international peace and security in the fight against injustice, hunger, and poverty, and in promoting human rights, democracy, and gender equality. We're especially working closely with Norway during our tenure on the Security Council together to deliver on these values that we all hold dear. This work is as important as ever, and we need to form what I would describe as a values coalition if we are to effectively resist populist, protectionist, and sometimes authoritarian tendencies that have become more apparent in recent years rather than less so. We have an opportunity now, post-pandemic, to work together to build safer, more sustainable, and a more equal society in our countries. The Nordic countries and Ireland have a lot to offer in these areas and can learn from each other. Certainly, we're already learning from you. This includes adapting to and reducing the impact of climate change and working together in the UN and in the EU on the ambitious CO2 targets that we've committed to. I think if we were to have this conversation a number of years ago, Ireland was not in a good place in terms of targets or ambition. That's very much changed in the last number of years. As we move towards a more sustainable future, Ireland can make a strong contribution to renewable energy production, particularly offshore wind. On issues like smart electricity grids and marine research, we can complement expertise in Nordic countries. It's these synergies and this strategy that can, I think, ensure that those relationships deepen and are successful. Ireland's also determined to deepen our engagement with the Arctic region, particularly given our shared environmental challenges. Our application for observer status at the Arctic Council was a clear demonstration of that commitment. And I was encouraged at the very positive response received from all 8 Arctic Council member states. And some people on this call will have been familiar with those discussions. However, as we know, the issue of new observers didn't ultimately form part of the agreed agenda for the recent Arctic Council Ministerial meeting in Reykjavik. And therefore, the applications from Ireland, Estonia, and the Czech Republic weren't considered on this occasion. But we will continue to work closely with our Nordic partners on Arctic matters and look forward to positive consideration at some point in the future on that observer status application. This strategy is launched as we are still working through the consequences of Brexit, unfortunately. More than ever, Ireland has to deepen its engagement with the European Union and beyond. The Nordic and Baltic countries are, in a sense, our home market and will play an important part in Ireland's realising of our ambitions. You are our close allies within the European Union, the European Economic Area, and internationally. Together, we advocate for a rules-based order and a liberal and competitive model that also allows our economies to grow in a more sustainable and equitable way. The economic pillar of the Nordic strategy will support the growth of our two-way trade beyond the impressive 15 billion euros annually we already enjoy. It will promote greater investment flows in both directions, This is very achievable with a Nordic economy that is estimated to be the 11th largest in the world combined, and one that is broadly in a position to recover relatively quickly from the impact of the pandemic. On trade, the Enterprise Ireland teams in Stockholm and Copenhagen, which cover the Nordic region, have been substantially reinforced over the past year. We've also allocated significant resources to food, tourism, and investment promotion within the region. I'm very keen that we deepen research partnerships with higher education institutes. We already have almost 90 such partnerships with Sweden alone, and Ireland contributes significantly in areas such as artificial intelligence, robotics, information sciences, biomedicine, and microbiology. Ireland is among the most successful locations for foreign direct investment anywhere in the world. With our focus on ICT, biotechnology, pharmaceuticals, and medtech, we are well positioned to weather the storm of COVID-19 and its effects in the years ahead. We'll be looking to develop platforms to exchange knowledge and ideas in key sectors of mutual interest. Ireland and Irish companies are well placed to partner with the dynamic private sector across the Nordic region. We have a strong sense of the possibilities that a post-COVID reset in terms of economic growth offers. And I'm very confident that this strategy will drive that deeper cooperation that we're looking for. I look forward to hearing more about these possibilities from my Norwegian colleague, who I'm delighted is joining us virtually this morning. We're also joined by private sector representatives who are already part of the burgeoning trade relationship between Ireland and the region. And I really appreciate them taking time to be part of this launch. So finally, can I thank you all for watching this Global Ireland event. We are very keen to get thoughts and suggestions from people who are watching. So feel free to get in touch by emailing nordic@dfa.ie or by using hashtag Nordic Strategy. So thanks very much, and I look forward to the conversation over the next hour or so. I'm really confident, actually, that this strategy is going to be a big success and is going to lead to new partnerships, new friendships, new cooperation, hopefully some new politics too. And I think all of that can be really beneficial for the country that I'm beaming in from, but also I hope it's seen as a valuable addition for all the Nordic states as well, in terms of the new opportunities that are there with it. So thanks very much, and I look forward to hearing what others have to say.
Gurav Mahagut Atara, and thank you for those very encouraging and positive remarks on the strategy. And I agree with you, I think it's a very exciting strategy, and I look forward to working upon it for the next couple of years. And now it is my great pleasure to turn to our next guest. Norway is, of course, our current partner on the Security Council, and Minister Eriksen Søreide has been working closely with Ireland already in that regard. I would like to invite her to talk to us about what she thinks of Ireland's Nordic strategy and how she thinks we can work together in making it happen. Minister Eriksen Søreide.
Thank you very much. And dear Simon, first of all, I would just like to say how warmly I welcome this strategy and also your interest in strengthening Ireland's partnerships with the Nordic countries. I can assure you, as you already know, that this interest is very much mutual. And I think we have a lot to work on when we look at the areas where we already work together today. We are natural partners on so many issues, and you have yourself mentioned both climate change as a growing threat. We have been talking about human rights, how they unfortunately now are increasingly violated also on our own continent, and also how multilateral structures are under pressure. We have an obligation, I think, to work together to defend our common interests and our common values. So I'm very much looking forward to this event and also taking this opportunity to highlight 3 key areas for our continued and I would say deepened partnership. First, it's very natural for me to start with international cooperation. We both agree that a well-functioning rules-based multilateral system, having UN at its core, is providing the best chances of finding solutions to global challenges. We're currently serving together as elected members of the UN Security Council, and I have to say that Ireland is without a doubt our most like-minded partner in the Council. We're very privileged to cooperate with such a strong partner, and these days Simon and I are working hard together to renew the resolution on cross-border humanitarian assistance to Syria. It's a tall order, but we are using our best and good offices both in New York, in our capitals, and the two of us to try to find good solutions. But our partnership with Ireland on multilateral issues also go beyond the Security Council. And I really look forward to deepening our collaboration on, amongst many other issues, human rights, poverty eradication, and peace diplomacy. We both share a strong interest and engagement for the women, peace, and security agenda. My second key area of cooperation is the European Green Deal, and it's the oceans. Traditionally, of course, green is the color of Ireland, but increasingly, I think that green is the color that we all strive towards. I think it's no exaggeration to say that we consider Ireland a key partner on climate action. And the Norwegian government has, as many of you know, been embracing the European Green Deal, both as a growth strategy, but also as a key for green transition. Norway is an advanced and also reliable supplier of renewable energy. We have a variety of companies and institutions with unique experience in energy and in maritime affairs. They are more than ready to contribute to the green transition also in Ireland. And let me just use this opportunity to highlight that the Norwegian state-owned renewable company Statkraft has an important presence in Ireland. Statkraft won the most capacity at last year's renewable energy auctions and will remain a key player in supporting the Irish government when reaching your ambitious renewable energy targets. Another area is maritime industries. It makes up a big portion of both our economies and provide a living for many coastal communities. Offshore clean energy can power the world, and demand for ocean-derived food and climate-friendly protein will just continue to increase. I don't believe I'm exaggerating in saying that our potential for the collaboration is as big as the ocean is deep. The third and final area I would like to highlight is culture and tourism. A shared enthusiasm for exploring nature and culture is one of the many bonds between our people. So let's continue to enrich our societies by exchanging literature, music, and visual arts. We know that the Nordics love Irish culture, and many Norwegian artists have found a very enthusiastic audience in Ireland. Let us also find good ways to work together for more sustainable tourism, because we both know that providing opportunities to connect with people and nature while also creating job and generating income in our communities is vital, but we have to do it in a sustainable way. Ladies and gentlemen, dear Simon, it is really to work with Ireland is really something that will prove excellent with opportunities both to achieve the green transition and to protect and strengthen our common values globally. When we do this in a Nordic context, we come out stronger together. I'm very confident that my good Nordic colleagues will agree to this. Thank you so much again for inviting me, and best of luck with implementation of your new and ambitious strategy.
Thank you very much, Minister, for those encouraging remarks, which only, I think, serve to underline how warm and vibrant the relationship is already and can only improve. Finally, we are delighted to have a contribution from our northernmost partner. Please, State Secretary Eilofsson, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister Coveney. Dear friends, let me congratulate on the impressive Global Ireland initiative, which sets out an excellent example of how smaller states can make optimal use of their unique expertise for positive influence in the international engagement. Ireland's recent elections to the UN Security Council already reflects the success of this approach. The Nordic strategy is one element of a global Ireland, as you know, of course, but obviously the one closest to our hearts. We look forward to analyzing your strategy in the coming weeks with a view to enhance our exchange in the implementation and play our part in it. We see immense value in deepening our relationship with Ireland as we share many strengths and interests and have much to gain from sharing knowledge and expertise. Our two countries also share geography, history, culture, and values. We are indeed natural partners, and it is time to realize the mutually beneficial relationship. A partnership where Iceland and Ireland can both build on their unique expertise. For example, we are both transatlantic in orientation and face many similar challenges. Iceland is a gateway to the North Atlantic and the Arctic and contributes to the maintenance of stability and security in the region. Minister, you mentioned the Arctic Council and your membership or observation status membership bid. We hope that we will be able to realize that in the coming, at least at the next meeting, and you can count, definitely you can count on our support, and we are looking forward to receiving you and cooperating with you there. That will only enhance and strengthen our relationship. You also mentioned marine research. That's a strategy that is or a policy and an issue very close to our heart, and we share the proximity to the ocean and to marine research. We utilize our fishing stocks, and there we have a lot in common too, and will definitely, and I hope that the Global Island and your initiative will be a vehicle to strengthening our relationship there. Moreover, Iceland is a small but vibrant and open economy. We are willing to share our experience in the field of relevance for Ireland. And I already mentioned the renewable energy thing and sustainable fishery management things. In development cooperation, we are also partners. We have similar strategies there, and for example, we are bilateral partner countries in Sierra Leone, where I, inter alia, myself visited your mission and your people there, and you mentioned in your speech cooperation between or through our network or embassies. And of course, as a small country, we welcome strengthening that cooperation very much, and of course on a mutually beneficial basis. So I would only finally let me congratulate on your Global Ireland initiative, and we are very much we're welcoming it. We are impressed by it, and we very much look forward to cooperating closer with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, State Secretary, and indeed to both ministers for these very warm and positive remarks about the Nordic strategy and its potential. I think you gave us an excellent flavour there of both the richness of the current relationship and the great potential that this strategy offers us to deepen and broaden the relationship in the coming years. And I would like to thank you personally for laying out a very clear and exciting roadmap for us as we begin to implement this strategy in the coming years. I would like to ask a few follow-up questions, if I may. Starting with you, Minister Coveney, and drawing on some of the themes that were evident in the contributions this morning. The strategy places a lot of emphasis on the close relationship that we already enjoy with the Nordics and the many values and traits that we have in common, as well as the many shared policy goals we have with the Nordic EU member states on many EU issues. How can we work to develop and deepen these ties, Minister?
Well, I mean, as you've said, I think, you know, the foundation is already very strong. You know, when Ireland is looking at new policy development, we often look at the Nordic countries in terms of what they're doing to see where the benchmark is in terms of standards, in terms of a values-based policy direction. And we have looked, I think, a lot at countries like Sweden and Norway and Finland, and indeed Iceland and Denmark, on our approach to sustainability and climate action, on how we use our ocean resources in a way that's sustainable, but also can solve other problems for us. We are about to embark on probably the most ambitious investment program for offshore wind anywhere in the world, I would say, in terms of pace over the next few years. But we're catching up on many of the countries that are looking in today who've already developed that potential to a significant extent. Likewise, in relation to aquaculture, we have a lot to learn in terms of managing aquaculture in a way that coastal communities can accept, but at the same time, to do this in a way that's sustainable, that manages stocks, to ensure that we have both quality, sustainability, and a competitive model. And there's a whole range of other areas too, where I think we've set standards, where many businesses and policymakers in Nordic countries can actually look at Ireland and say, we'd like a bit of that, in terms of the platforms that we've created for foreign direct investment, the pharmaceutical and tech-based sectors that have really grown into very globally strategic clusters in Ireland that are looking for expansion opportunities into other stable markets, like are provided across Nordic countries. So, I think there is a lot in common in terms of the approach to business, innovation, sustainability, and I think a willingness, because none of us are particularly big countries, so there's not too much ego involved. I think we're happy to learn from each other in terms of what works and what doesn't. That doesn't always work when you have small countries working with very large countries who see themselves as superpowers. But it certainly works when you have a collection of similar sized countries with economies that are all growing at a similar pace. So, I think that, Ina mentions Statkraft, who have their headquarters in Cork, actually about 10 kilometers from where I'm talking to you now. I had the privilege of opening their offices, in the last few years, and experiencing the ambition and the technology that they're advocating. So, I think we'll see a lot more of that. Hopefully, more Irish companies, parts of the Nordic economy, and more Nordic companies helping to provide expertise and edge and competitiveness and new thinking. I think Ireland's approach to economic development is about as open as any country in the world to non-Irish companies being part of that growth story. And that's why we have, a very, very globalized economy here in Ireland. Even though we're part of the European Union, we operate very much on a global base. We also have, as many of you have, a deep commitment to a transatlantic relationship as well. And I think with the current administration in the White House, there is an extraordinary opportunity, I think, for the development of a new transatlantic alliance, not just in areas where I think we agree, like, for example, climate action, where John Kerry, I think, is trying to give global leadership and really wants to work with Europe, not just the European Union, but Europe as a whole, in terms of global ambition, but in other areas too. Because there is so much common interest in protecting the kind of way of life that we take for granted and want to advocate for in other parts of the world as well. So I think there are many areas where, certainly from an Irish perspective, we see collaboration and increased partnerships that I think can be very effective. The final thing I'd say is that with the UK leaving the European Union, that actually changes quite a lot for Ireland in terms of how we see our place in Europe and in the European Union. The European Union without the UK is a very different construct, particularly from an Irish perspective. Many of the issues that we advocated for and successfully won the argument on, whether that's taxation, whether it's protecting against protectionism, whether it's ensuring that we get a single market functioning for goods and services, the UK was a big ally of Ireland in many of those arguments, and now they're no longer in the room within the European Union. And so we have thought deeply about new alliances, new structures, not just within the European Union, but also bordering it, to ensure that the Irish approach to life and to politics continues to win the argument. And I think all of the Nordic countries, I think, have a very similar view to us on, a way of life, quality of life, democracy, the approach to global trade, and sustainability, and so on. And so, we are very anxious to build structured relationships, not just friendships, but structured relationships around how we can advocate and win those arguments, whether it's in the European Union or indeed in other multilateral structures like the UN. So I think there's a lot to do together. I think it's an easy relationship. The odd time we have an argument with Iceland over mackerel, but I think we tend to get over that and find a way forward. But Irish people really are comfortable, I think, with their Nordic partners and friends. They want to build closer relationships. We trust what you're doing, and when you say you'll do something, we trust it'll be done. And I think that can be a really good basis for future ambitious growth. And that's what certainly this strategy is about. This is a policy signal, if you like, to hopefully allow us to work on the back of it to develop the new partnerships that I'm talking about, and I think it can be mutually beneficial.
Thank you very much, Minister, and I think particularly for drawing out that important point that as small countries we are better together and we have a stronger voice. I would like now to turn to Minister Eriksson Sarida. She's been able to stay with us online. And Minister, I'd like to maybe draw out your second point in your remarks where you spoke about environmental issues and how we could work together. I'd like to get more of your perspective on environmental issues and the Green Agenda, as these are very much front and centre in the strategy and it is a key issue for Ireland and for the Nordic regions. How do you think Ireland could engage on issues around green transition? And what course would you like to see the Green Agenda develop in over the coming years? Minister.
Well, thank you very much. First of all, I'd just like to say that I echo everything Simon said in his intervention, not surprisingly, I would say. But I also want to start the answer on the green transition with one particular topic where we are very much engaged together in the Security Council. It's the agenda on climate and security. And Ireland is doing a wonderful job now chairing the informal expert group on climate and security together with Niger. We'll take over from Ireland next year. And it also is a very good testament not only to our like-mindedness, that this is a topic we both had very clearly and strongly on the agenda when we campaigned for the Council. We're following up when we get into the Council and look for ways in which the Council can actually strengthen their knowledge and also engagement in climate and security issues. And Simon and I have very often talked about when we were campaigning. We were, of course, campaigning from our capitals, but we were also campaigning from New York. And our respective perm reps, our UN ambassadors, Mona and Geraldine, they are tough, strong ladies. We both wanted to make sure that we always were on the right side of them. And I think they are now continuing their very strong collaboration to actually set a mark for both Norway and Ireland in the Council. When we look at the green transition, we've been very, I would say, amazed by the EU's Green Deal. And we were thinking from the outset that this is highly relevant for Norwegian companies. We can play into this because we know that we have the competencies, we know we have the companies, we know we also have the innovation, the research, and also the technology that is needed to add on. And the fact that we are looking at both a growth strategy and a green transition that was kept through the pandemic was something that we really admire, the courage of the EU. And we know that Ireland has actually been a proponent for this and at the forefront. And it's been quite amazing to see how, when we thought maybe that the pandemic would kind of alter all these priorities, it has, on the contrary, just strengthened these priorities. How everyone is now coming along in this agenda. So we are working together with Ireland and other countries to I would say put up the speed for this green transition. What we did early on was to give an enhanced global or enhanced climate goal to the EU, and we wanted the EU to also strengthen and enhance its goal, which the EU eventually did. We think that bodes well for how we are going to cooperate. And as Simon says, there are so many areas where for our two countries, and I would say for the Nordic countries and Ireland, it is very, very natural to cooperate. We have almost the same pace of economic growth. We have much of the same landscape. What is difficult to do in Norway technically is also difficult to do in Ireland, and vice versa. So we have a lot of the things that would be, I would call it more or less a seamless cooperation. And the fact that we are putting so much emphasis and so much weight into pushing our solutions, our companies, and our research into the European area, and receiving so much of the input, research and innovation from Europe into Norway, or from the European Union into Norway, I think that bodes well for a very, very good cooperation. So I'm very optimistic, as I usually am, but in this case, maybe more optimistic than on many other policy areas. And also because there's a strong political will, both in the Nordics and in Ireland, to actually make this work. So I'm very confident that this will be an area where we have only seen the start of a very fruitful cooperation.
Thank you very much, Minister, for your engagement with that question, which will actually feed into our panel discussion later as well, where we have a representative from Statkraft who will speak about the investment from Norway into renewables in Ireland. Finally, I would like to turn to a representative from Iceland. State Secretary, could I get your perspective on this strategy as you listen this morning to Ireland's plans to deepen our engagement with you and your Nordic partners? How can we develop and strengthen the already warm affinity between Ireland and the Nordic countries so that everybody can benefit from this Nordic strategy? Thank you.
Thank you. You spoke about the warm affinity and your minister also about kinship. I think there is a company here in Iceland that is mapping our genes, and I think we are 60% Norwegians and 30% Irishmen, so it can't be more natural than that. But we mentioned the areas, and of course the ocean, the blue ocean, is very close to our heart. We are surrounded by the ocean and the blue economy, and I mentioned marine research and Simon as well. Besides the mackerel, but I think we can really cooperate there, and the economic opportunities when it comes to the blue economy are endless. Basically, what we have seen here in Iceland, I don't know, 20 years ago, when we caught one piece of cod, which is basically protein, we threw maybe 30% of it away. We didn't utilize it. Today we use 99 point something of it. We make fashion products out of it. We make all kinds of pharmaceuticals and even skin growing band-aids. It's just endless. And this we have done through clusters or a cluster here in Iceland, and we have exported this idea of cooperation to other countries. And this is, for example, an area where we can learn from each other on. We also use the Atlantic Ocean. We talk about that we are bridge builders, and we know the transatlantic dimension probably in a different manner than other Europeans. Talking about the ocean, we extract 2 or 3 degrees from the ocean to produce energy and heat up towns around the shore in Iceland. And Ireland as an island And this is a really old technique. It's 150 years old or something. It's the same as used in refrigerators, but at this scale, it has not been done before. We have learned a lot from this process. I think we can share experiences there. What I found also interesting is when the UK has left the European Union, you need like-minded partners. We have access, of course, to the Brussels structures through the EEA cooperation, and we often see you, almost without exception, a natural partner, a like-minded partner. Ina mentioned that our economies fluctuate more or less in the same manner. So this is we can cooperate much more there, and we can do it, as you mentioned, Simon, in a more structured, not just as a friendship on a friendship note. Of course, we always do that, but in a more structured and strategic manner. And there I think we should utilize this, both when it comes to the economy, but also to the foreign relations, to the transatlantic. We can contribute to the table in Brussels there. Our views and should make them known. You also talked about human rights, the rule-based order, and things like that. We are like-minded, and we should do more to let our voice be heard. And we do it more together. We do it more powerfully together, and if we focus.
Thank you very much, State Secretary, and some really positive, practical and substantive points raised by you there. And thank you to everyone who attended in person today, to the two ministers, to State Secretary. We greatly appreciate it. We also appreciate the fact that your colleagues from Denmark, Finland and Sweden, who could not be here today, sent in the following video messages, sharing with us their thoughts on Ireland's Nordic strategy.
I welcome the launch of Ireland's new Nordic strategy today. Ever since Ireland and Denmark joined the European Union together in 1973, our relations have been strong and we have been like-minded on many issues. We share values and interests, even more so today than back in 1973. In a post-Brexit Europe, strong cooperation between Ireland and the Nordic countries is deeply relevant. We look forward to discussing your ideas on deepening our relationship in the coming months and years. I believe we can promote shared values and pursue common agendas in Europe and globally on issues such as the rule of law, free trade, the completion of the single market, climate, the digital agenda, international solidarity, human rights, and much more. I hope to be able to come to Ireland to visit you and discuss our many shared agendas.
Hello Dublin, this is Helsinki calling. Finland is happy to give full 12 points to Ireland on her very timely and relevant Nordic strategy. The rhythm is just right. There is a real need and plenty of potential in closer Nordic-Irish cooperation in both business and politics. We look forward working with Ireland and our Nordic partners for its implementation. Ireland and the Nordics face the same challenges, from climate change to hybrid and cyber threats, so it makes perfect sense to join our forces for a more sustainable effect. We share the same interest in most issues. Take, for example, the work to uphold human rights and the rule of law. Our concerns and goals are the same, and you don't need to look far to see joint efforts are badly needed in Europe and in our neighborhoods, both east and south. Finland and Ireland have a long history of joint bilateral efforts. As noted in the strategy, one of these efforts has been, and still is, the peace process in Northern Ireland and the continued implementation of the Good Friday Agreement. I look very much forward in working for peace and reconciliation with my good colleague Simon Coveney, both within the EU as well as at the UN Security Council. As open, innovative and digitalized economies, Ireland and Finland have a lot to defend in a world with growing protectionist voices. We will continue to work together for our citizens and for fairer and more inclusive global economy. And most of all, the Finns will be looking forward to seeing more of the smiling Irish eyes in Finland once we have jointly conquered COVID-19 and travel will resume. Görö mile maho gött. Thank you. Kiitos Irlanti.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for the opportunity to send you this brief message at the occasion of the launch of the Ireland strategy for the Nordic region. I want to express my great pleasure that you have identified the Nordic region as having potential for increased cooperation and trade with Ireland. As your strategy rightly states, our partnership is important to deal with global issues such as defending democracy, fighting climate change, and promoting gender equality. To address these challenges, like-minded countries like ours must join forces. Together we can help ensure a world order based on multilateralism, the rule of law, and human rights. Since many years, Ireland has been a very important partner for Sweden. Our bilateral relations are truly excellent. As colleagues in the EU, we share the same view on most issues on the EU agenda. Our cooperation in the UN has been very valuable, especially during our respective terms on the Security Council. With that said, there are areas where we can work together even more between our countries, such as cooperation on disarmament and development aid. As we build back better and greener after the pandemic, there is also room for increased cooperation on environmental issues and digitalization. But we should also explore the possibility of collaboration in science, education, and culture, which could help build an even stronger partnership between our countries and people. Once again, I'm very pleased that the Nordic strategy is launched today, and I'm very much looking forward to deepen cooperation between Ireland, Sweden, and the Nordic countries. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ministers, and thank you in particular to Finland for the 12 points. It's been a while since Ireland scored so highly. Moving to our next item, one of the main drivers of this Nordic strategy is our trade and economic relationship. And we have convened a panel here today that focuses on that aspect of the relationship. We are joined virtually from Stockholm by Hannah Fraser, Enterprise Ireland's Nordic Director. I am particularly delighted to welcome in person to Ivy House Kevin O'Donovan, Managing Director of Statkraft, who's received a lot of mention already this morning, and Alan O'Kelly, a Director of Irish company Premium Power. Hannah, I will go to you first. I understand you have been living in Stockholm for the last 2 years. How have you found the experience?
Good morning, Olive, and hi everyone from Stockholm. Thanks very much for having me, and I'm delighted to be here as part of this panel discussion to launch the new strategy for the Nordic region. You're right, I've been in Stockholm for 2 years now, and I hadn't been to any of the Nordic countries or Sweden before moving here. So you often hear of the region described as progressive, open, innovative. And when you land in here into any of the countries, you really do feel that. Stockholm has been an incredibly welcoming place to move to. Language isn't a barrier right across the region, as English is widely spoken. And everything just seems to really work pretty seamlessly here. There's been huge investment made by all the governments in the region into public services and infrastructure. So the quality of life is incredibly high right across the region. In my role in Enterprise Ireland, I have the privilege of working with many ambitious Irish companies every day. And we've seen the awareness of the opportunities in this region really increase in recent years. Exports of Enterprise Ireland client companies have grown around 35% over the past 5 years, and we now have 450 active companies doing business with the Nordics. The expansion of our resources and the opening of our Copenhagen office in 2019 really kind of ensures our commitment to this region and supporting Irish companies here. In terms of sectors and where we see opportunities, the high-tech construction sector has really driven a significant amount of growth in recent years. And Irish companies today are well recognised right across the region for their leadership in the design, build and fit out of data centres here. We have about 60 Irish companies working on projects currently in this space in the region. And it's great to see Alan O'Kelly from Premium Power join us this morning. But what is also encouraging has been the growth right across the sectors that we work in, like financial services, life sciences, HR technology, and engineering, alongside emerging sectors, many of which that have been touched on already this morning in areas like renewable energy and smart grid. So I'm delighted to be here, like I said, as part of this, and look forward to an engaging discussion.
Thank you very much. That was really a good overview of the opportunities that exist for Irish companies in the region. I might now turn to Kevin, who can talk about the opportunities from Irish companies in relation to investment from the Nordic region. Statkraft is a major player in the Irish market, having secured, as the Foreign Minister said, from Norway, the largest capacity of any renewable energy developer in the government's 2020 renewable auction. Can you tell us what that investment and interest has meant to you, to your company and to Ireland in terms of clean energy and renewables?
Yes, well, Statkraft is a 100% Norwegian state-owned company, but is the largest producer of renewable energy in Europe already. And as part of their strategy to grow in wind and solar development, they identified Ireland as a core market for growth, and in 2018 invested in my company Element Power to grow in the Irish sector. Since then, the workforce has doubled in size since Minister Coveney was good enough to open our offices, and we've already invested heavily in the Irish sector. We have developed the first 2 commercial-scale battery storage projects in Ireland, as well as the renewable projects that the Norwegian Foreign Minister referenced earlier, and those projects are now glad to say are in construction this year. So a lot of the attributes and natural resources that Ireland have are viewed by a lot of developers such as Statkraft as being of huge value and of huge benefit, and give Ireland a really good potential to be a leader when it comes to global climate change actions and activities.
So they would see us or view us very much as being part of the renewable energy sector and being well positioned to lean into that?
Yes, I think particularly in the last few years, but as Minister Coveney said earlier, Ireland has very clearly put very strong policy and commitments towards climate action with our climate action plan, and that has led to very clear policy signals that Ireland is very strongly supportive of developing its renewable energy assets, whether it be onshore wind, solar, offshore wind, or battery storage solutions. And someone like Statkraft, who is a market leader in that area, has identified Ireland as being a very good market to develop in, and very much sees itself as a long-term presence in the Irish market to help grow and help Ireland achieve its climate change ambitions.
Okay, and Statkraft operates across the Nordic region?
Yes, yes. So Statkraft would be the largest producer of hydro energy across the Nordic region, and has a lot of other activities in not just renewable energy, but Statkraft also is quite pioneering in its involvement as what we would call a market integrator, where we use our ability to trade power to enable to balance the grid system, and very much trying to pioneer in areas such as the development of hydrogen, EV charging infrastructure for electric vehicles, and we see those as being opportunities in the Irish market as well, because Ireland's Climate Action Plan very much envisages this change and transition towards a renewable-based economy, with electrification of our heat and transport systems.
Okay, well that's very good news. And how has the business relationship been? How do the Irish and the Nordics get on? Do we gel well together?
Yeah, I think we do. And you know, I guess initially I was surprised actually at how similar we are. And my team in Cork work very closely with all nationalities from the Nordics, and there's a very good, strong working relationship. I think as Minister Coveney said earlier, I think we all benefit from having a similar, like-minded, pragmatic approach, and maybe leaving the egos outside the door, and actually just being very practical people who are very well aligned. And in particular, our alignment on sustainability and climate change, it really stands out. So that leads to a very good working relationship.
Okay. So we're good at getting the job done in the best way possible.
I think that's a very good description of us, yes.
Okay, great. Thank you, Kevin, for those insights. And Alan, I might turn to you now, and maybe you could give me some background on your company, Premium Power, and its relationship with the Nordic region.
Yeah, sure, I'm delighted to. So Premium Power, we're an electrical systems specialist company. We've worked in Ireland for 20 years trying to make sure that really key customers, high-end customers, have the reliable and safe electrical systems that they need to do their business. Ireland's a small open economy. We've seen a lot of large international players come into our country, and we've developed over time relationships with those companies. Those companies, of course, are developing other parts of within the European Union and developing within the Nordics, and fortunately we've gained the trust of those companies, and we're able to follow them off to the Nordic region, where we've been working, for example, in Denmark, Sweden and Finland to help to ensure the validation of electrical systems reliability for, say, hyperscale data centers particularly. So there's an ecosystem there that we've been able to leverage. Obviously it's come out of government policy. It's a long-time policy in Ireland that we've allowed these key companies to come in, and really it's been hugely beneficial to a company like ours to be able to become part of that ecosystem, and then to leverage how that's moved internationally for us as well, you know.
Okay, so lots to learn from each other then, it sounds like.
I completely, and you know, even it's very interesting listening to Kevin here today. We're electrical systems, so we would work obviously with industry, but we also work with the utility. And what's interesting is we've seen, say, grid connection studies coming out of Denmark, which have subsequently been taken into the Irish approach for grid systems modelling. And you know, even just seeing those kind of interchanges, I think it's very, very beneficial for Ireland going forward. I mean, the challenges facing Ireland in the next 20, 30 years, and all of the countries in the world, in fact, as we move towards really, really ambitious targets for the use of electrical systems, I really don't think that people have grasped how significant those challenges would be. I think the skills that, you know, partially the skills that even Premium Power have, those type of skills would be really, really important in ensuring that we maintain the sustainable and reliable systems that we're used to today.
And that's where you would really see the future of the relationship.
Absolutely. I mean, look, you see really mature expertise in the Nordic region, and we're always looking to see what we can learn. We're all very different. I mean, you have the Norway with its huge hydro resource. Ireland is a very different resource. We have a wind resource, and there's a lot of consequences of those differences to how we need to develop. But there's huge synergies possible.
Okay. Thank you very much, Alan. I have a question that's come in here from the panel, from the President of the Irish Chamber of Commerce in Sweden, Charles Jameson. Charles would like to know, what role does the panel see for Irish Chambers of Commerce in the Nordic region in delivering on the strategy goals, and can the panel comment on whether a network of Irish chambers in the region can play a useful role? I might go to you, Kevin, first and see what your thoughts on that might be.
Yeah, I think it's very important that we build our relationships between the different markets. It's very clear that, particularly on the technology side of things, that there's a lot of learnings and similarities there. And I think areas in terms of electric vehicle charging networks and aspects like that, they're applicable to all our markets, and we need to be able to link up with the expertise that some countries may lead on a little bit more than others on. And from my own experience in Norway, with its very strong experience in the maritime and the oil and gas sector, that now is pivoting towards being applied to offshore wind. And I see a lot of benefit in support being there to introduce those companies, and for the Chambers of Commerce and the regions to work together to introduce those companies and ensure that the expertise that's there gets shared.
Yeah, and the networking aspect. And
exactly.
Exactly.
There's pretty good relationships, obviously, as well between the embassies and Enterprise Ireland. And I've already attended very good events where that expertise has just been naturally shared through events where companies can get together and share that knowledge and create a network between each other.
Yeah, thank you, Kevin. And Alan, how about you? Have you experience of working with the Chambers of Commerce in the region, or indeed, are you interested to learn more about them?
Yeah, I really am. We've worked with Chambers of Commerce, not in the Scandinavian region to date, but other ones in other countries. And it's really, really invaluable because you get to meet people and just have the chat in the way that we do really well. And it opens up opportunities that you might not otherwise have. I think maybe personally, vertically targeted chats or the right introductions can have a huge, be hugely positive in enabling business.
Yeah, exactly. And we will definitely put you in touch with Charles after this, so you can have that chat for sure. And Hannah, I might go over to you now on that question. I'm sure you're no stranger to the Swedish-Irish Chamber of Commerce.
No, not at all. We work very closely with all of the chambers in the region and the business groups indeed that exist here. I think Kevin and Alan touched on it. No one needs me to highlight the importance that networking and relationships are for building business. So, Nordic customers and partners, they value long-term committed business relationships. And I think the value of local networks like the Chambers can't be underestimated. For any Irish person or business, particularly in the early days landing into a region, these are extremely valuable door openers and connections into the right people. So we very much welcome the energy and commitment that the Chambers in this region have. And I think this, alongside the new strategy, will only help to support our agenda at Enterprise Ireland to work with Irish companies here.
Thank you very much, Hannah. And I might stay with you just to ask you a kind of a closing question in relation to the future focus for Irish business and Irish companies in the region. This is obviously a very innovative and interesting, dynamic region of the world to work in. What do you think the potential is? Where would you like to see Irish businesses getting in touch with Enterprise Ireland about?
Yeah, thanks. I see huge potential, and I think it's been touched on by the ministers and all of the speakers this morning. We share a common set of values, we share a common set of purpose with Nordic people and businesses, and our trading relationship is based on kind of mutually beneficial business exchange. I think as we emerge out of the COVID-19 pandemic and we are working towards, a more sustainable world together, there are really no better partners to collaborate with than our Nordic neighbours. As has been touched on, there's a wide range of existing but also emerging opportunities now out of the climate transition where we can collaborate and find mutual benefits like wind energy, smart grid technology, building efficiency. I think another key area is the digital agenda. Ireland has huge expertise, and the Nordic countries are some of the most digitally advanced economies in the world. So I think that's another area that we can really work closely together on. I think Irish companies need to consider these as our home markets. They're located on our doorstep, and you can see the openness that exists from Nordic partners. So I would strongly encourage all Irish companies to consider this region as they look to build their businesses globally. And we, the Enterprise Ireland team, along with the wider Team Ireland, and now reinforced by this strategy, are here to really help and support you.
Thank you very much, Hannah. And that is an important point that's coming out so strongly this morning, as this is our region and this is our neighbourhood, and these are our kind of our natural partners. Minister Coveney, I know that you have been listening with interest to this panel discussion. I wonder if you've any observations you would like to make on the economic relationship and the trade relationship with the Nordic region, and anything you might take away from today's discussion on the economic and trade aspects of the relationship. Over to you, Minister.
Well, I mean, I think the first thing is that we've got a great foundation already there. You know, we're doing 15 billion euros worth of business every year with across Nordic economies. That's a significant amount of money for a country the size of Ireland. So I think we've already got a good platform. The relationships are strong. You know, if you look at companies like the two that we have heard from today in terms of Statkraft and the work that Kevin is doing, and indeed Premium Power and the work that Alan is doing, you know, I think there is an obvious big business opportunity in the context of energy, renewables, and the transition that has begun in Ireland. You know, we are committed to reducing our emissions footprint by 7% a year. On average between now and 2030. That means we're going to more than half our emissions in less than 10 years. So you know, that is a very demanding target, and it's going to need a lot of innovation and a lot of change. And I think we can lean on the expertise of many Nordic companies, whether that's smart travel, whether it's offshore wind, or whether it's the smart grids and technology that they've been working on and developing as we have. So I think this is a good time to launch this strategy. It's a time of change. It's a time when every country, I think, is thinking about what does a post-COVID economy and society look like, and how can Irish and Nordic thinking influence that in terms of the levels of ambition, but also the business opportunities that flow from that, because they are significant. So, you know, I think this is a very strategic time in Ireland. I think a lot of people are open to new ways of doing things, whether it's working from home, working remotely in business centres, or indeed how they move around, how they power those vehicles, where the source of their electricity comes from, how their food is produced. You know, we are, for example, and I think we'd be really interested to explore, certainly I would, with our Nordic partners, how Ireland fulfills its commitment of setting aside 30% of our maritime resource for marine conservation areas over the next decade. You know, Ireland has, like many of the Nordic countries have, we have 10 times as much sea surface as we have land surface. And we are planning to set aside 30% of that. So that's 3 times the land mass of Ireland is going to be set aside in marine protection areas. How do we do that in a way that protects ecosystems, but also creates new opportunities in terms of sustainable platforms for economic development and so on? And there's lots of interesting ideas and discussion in that space that I think we could share with and learn from Nordic countries on. So I think my message is, you know, Ireland is a country that is changing. Our values are staying more or less the same, but we're applying them differently now in terms of how we respond to the challenges of, you know, of our generation of leadership, politically and in business, around a more sustainable future, a future that is focused more on quality of life and technology. And, you know, the partnership between Ireland and Nordic countries, I think, can provide global leadership in many of these areas of strategic cooperation, whether it's at university level in terms of research, providing the basis for commercial decisions, or whether it's business partnerships. I think one of the things that has been reinforced by this launch today is that the mindset and character of Irish people and Nordic people is quite compatible. You know, we have a slightly different version of sense of humor, but I think it's one that very much feeds off each other. And certainly from my experience working with Nordic and indeed Baltic, but in particular Nordic ministers for many years now, we get on well together, and that is a good basis for building something quite substantial in terms of the ambition of what we're trying to do. So I think this launch really should just be a catalyst to actually move the ambition dial, if you like, up even more and move from this current business partnership that's worth about 15 billion to there's no reason why we can't double that, in my view, certainly over the next 10 years and maybe even sooner. Really, I would say to all of our Nordic friends who are listening in this morning, Ireland is such an open place to welcome you to come and invest here, build businesses here, not just to target the EU market, but to target the global market as well. We've done that successfully with so many companies around the world. And I think the opportunities here are very strong. And likewise, we will be encouraging Irish companies to make this pretty straightforward transition from working out of an Irish market to actually working in and across the Nordic countries as well. So, my message is simple. Use this as a platform to be more ambitious, to ask more questions, to build more partnerships and friendships. And I think what's achievable if we do that and apply real structure as well as ambition to that relationship and invest in it properly, I think the dividend can be very exciting.
Thank you very much, Minister, for both outlining the challenges that we face globally as well as in Europe and with the Nordics, the opportunities that are obvious and evident here today, and also for, we have carefully noted, for putting the target to us of doubling the trade relationship over the next 10 years. We'll definitely work to that, Minister. And thank you so much for spending time today with us as we launch this strategy. I'd also like to thank you, Alan O'Kelly, for coming into Ivy House, and for you, Kevin O'Donovan. It's great to have in-person people to engage with, and it was great to hear this great Nordic-Irish success story live in the ballroom. And finally, Hannah, just to turn to you in Stockholm, thank you for your engagement and support of this strategy, and I so look forward to working with you on implementing it over the next few years. Thanks, Hannah. Of course, one of the main pillars of the Global Ireland Strategy and of the Global Ireland Nordic Strategy is that of cultural cooperation. I'm delighted today to bring you a couple of great examples of cultural synergies between Ireland and the Nordic region. First up, we have Vasen, an Irish-Swedish traditional music group playing together in the centre of Stockholm. Here they are performing two tunes for us, the Carrow Road Jig and Out on the Ocean.
Lovely. Lovely.
This morning, we have had a packed agenda and a fantastic range of speakers who have shared with us their insights, thoughts and hopes for this Global Ireland Nordic strategy, as well as their encouragement to us as we build and develop our relationships. We have also managed to highlight probably one of the main differences between Ireland and the Nordics, and that is in relation to timekeeping by going about half an hour over time, but that was because we were having such a great discussion. Please keep an eye on the Department of Foreign Affairs websites, dfa.ie and ireland.ie, and on our social media feeds, including those of our embassies in the Nordics, to see and hear how this strategy is being implemented. I would like to say a special thank you to Minister Coveney, to Minister Eriksson Suraida, and State Secretary Martin Elyofsson, as well as my three panellists, Hannah from Stockholm, Kevin and Alan, for joining us here today. Could I thank our embassies and agencies in the Nordics for their work, ideas and passion for this strategy, and to the embassies and ambassadors resident and accredited to Ireland for their support and interest in Ireland's decision to engage more strategically with their countries. I would also like to thank my own team here in Dublin and the production crew who made this event possible. Finally, I would like to send a warm thank you to everybody who has tuned in today, and we look forward to working with you in the coming years. Our final piece of music is from an Irish Icelandic ensemble, Ma'anam. Fergus Cahalane and Dahi O'Noonan are founding members of this group, who explore the Hiberno-Nordic connection through language and melodies inspired by their natural landscape. For this event, Fergus and Dahi have specifically arranged a fusion piece, combining an Old Norse text with a well-known song in modern Irish. This is the first opportunity the two artists have had in over a year to meet and perform together outside of Zoom, a fact which in itself signifies the hope that we all currently feel today. This is My Mother Told Me, Dulaman. Thank you.
and Ian Fia Notion and Alfuri. A Wahari no Kerna, Rohalan Gadime, Dula man the bin the we Dula man Gela, Dula man the Fariga, Dula man Gela, Rocha Michkin Yer Lesh and Dula man Gela, Kinomis Roga Dares and Dula man Wera, Dula man the bin the we Dula man Gela, Dula man the Fariga, Dula man Gela, Roga Bracket do where and Dula man Gela, the body dog is through Sharon Dula man Wera, Dula man the bin the we Dula man Gela, Dula man the Fariga, Dula man Gela, Kavine to money and Ersten Dula man Gela, for Doi Maila me Ersten Dula man Wera, Dula man the bin the we Dula man Gela, Dula man the Fariga, Dula man Gela, Dula man the bin the we Dula man Gela, Dula man the Fariga, Dula man Wera. Dula man Gaelic na bin we Dula man werk na Fariga, Dula man Gaelic na bin we Dula man werk na Fariga, Dula man Gaelic na bin we Dula man werk na Fariga, Dula man Gaelic na bin we Dula man werk na Fariga, Dula man